Good morning, everybody. For those of you who were in high school or middle school or elementary school, and you remember way back when, before the quarantine, we had these things called tests, and how the day before the test, you would usually have a review day, and if you had not paid any attention at all, you made sure to pay attention on review day. You were there writing copious notes about everything that the teacher said might be on the test, right? You remember what she would say, or he would say, this might be on the test. You'd be sure to write it down. Well, in our first reading today, we have something like a review. This is the third time we've heard a review in the Acts of the Apostles. Remember the first time we heard a review of God's story of salvation, we heard back with Peter. And when he was in the temple area in that portico of Solomon right outside the temple, and he gives a summary of the Old Testament. Then we heard, and that was in Acts 2. In Acts 7, we heard Stephen doing the same thing right before his martyrdom, summing up the Old Testament and what God was doing and at work in the Jewish people. Now we hear about Paul as he is in the synagogue. Notice in the synagogue, visitors are allowed to stand up and share some words of inspiration with the people. Paul stands up and he does a great summary, a review of the Old Testament. So if you're the type of person who finds the Bible really hard to understand, read this first reading, because Paul is essentially summing up in a couple sentences the whole Bible. He is summing it all up for you, giving you a skeleton, a lens in which to understand what's going on. But notice how he phrases it. He starts off by saying, look, here we are in the synagogue, and you are God's people. Let's hear about what God has done. Notice God is the one taking the initiative. God is the one who is leading the people through the desert. God is the one who is giving them the land of Canaan. God is the one who is raising up prophets. God is the one who is then raising up kings for them. Right? God is the one who raised up prophets for Israel about how to live, and finally John the Baptist. So he's essentially giving us a whole summary of the Old Testament in just a couple sentences. He's providing for his audiences, look, this is why we believe, and this is why I believe, and this is why you should believe in Jesus. He's presenting it to them and saying, here's Jesus. Do you want to know more about him? Let me tell you about him. So I think these are great passages that invite us to think about our own summary of faith. If we would do a review of our faith and the reasons why we believe, what might that look like? So my challenge for you today is to think about in a couple sentences why you believe, to review what God has done in your life and why others should believe in this Jesus you know. And if you feel brave, write it down or post it in the comment section below. Why you believe, how you have come to know Christ, and how you are invited in this review of your own life to see what God has done in you.